All right, what's up, everybody? Valiant Brand. So today we're gonna have a live stream with Crip-Toe Kings. He's in Hex and he's in Pulse, and he's actually also got a friend that's pretty popular in the Hex community who's an OG as well. So without further ado, we'll do the intro, and then we'll kind of just get into some of his background, and then go over some Hex, some Pulse, and kind of just see where it goes. Okay, so let's do the intro, and then we'll get right into it.
Be sure to hit that subscribe button. Be sure to like. Be sure to share. Be sure to comment. Yeah. Say heck. Heck, yeah. Say heck, heck. Heck, yeah. Say heck. Say heck, yeah. Say heck. Motherfucking jackpot. We still jackpot, bitch!
Thank you, Richard, for creating and founding the most amazing and disruptive financial technology cryptocurrency ever. Thank you, sir. And nice streams, Mr. Valiant Brand.
Okay, cool. So yeah, we're gonna bring him on in just a second. I do want to let everyone know that his YouTube channel is in the description, and same thing with his Twitter account that he just created. So definitely go give him a follow. And yeah, we'll bring him on right now. Hey, how we doing, man?
Hey, what's going on? Love that intro. Gets me every time.
Yeah, there's a pretty prominent Hexican. His name's Joe Hexotic, and he's the one that actually created that. He's made a lot of music in the past, and kind of had that be a passion of his. So, anyways, it was pretty cool when Nagabo, the guy in that video, came onto the scene, because some things like that can just never be faked. It's a true, authentic personality, and what a cool remix. It like you said, it gets you every time. Same thing with myself.
Yeah, stake that Hex, baby.
Hell yeah. So yeah, so your name's Crip-Toe Kings. Can you maybe even just say where that kind of comes from? I think it's a pretty cool name. We'll just maybe get into some of the backstory if you want.
Yeah, a little bit of backstory on the name itself. It actually started off just like a paint night with my girlfriend, and
nice.
She asked what I wanted to paint. I was like, I don't know, I'm gonna do something crypto related. Hex has been awesome, loving it. And then I love puns, play on words. Everything's like a joke to me. So a Crip-Toe. I don't know if any of the other followers have seen my logo, but it's actually a little big toe holding up like a Crip sign, and decided to throw a crown on it as well. So yeah, I actually have that painting right here. This is where it all started, just as a joke. But then I was gonna go into some NFTs with it. Started digging around. Price to mint those are so ridiculously expensive. So I figured shift gears. And yeah, I wanted to start a YouTube channel because I missed the opportunity on Hex at launch. I was planning on putting $1,000 in right at the beginning. It was my first time investing in the cryptos, but the process was very confusing for myself. So instead, I put my money in Bitcoin. Bitcoin did phenomenal for me, helped kickstart a lot more investing, some swing trades from there. But now that Pulsechain is launching, I definitely want to bring the opportunity to everyone's attention and provide everything in the most layman, easy terms for everyone to have the best understanding and, yeah, not miss the same opportunity that I did.
No, that's cool, man. It's always cool to hear some of the backstory on how those names come about. And I actually do have your YouTube channel pulled up just so everyone can see and go subscribe. I mean, let's get him some, some more subscribers. Everyone that's watching this, go sub to him, and then also, like I mentioned, follow on Twitter. So I wanted to pull it up for reference of the logo that you mentioned. So I like it. Did you do that design yourself?
I mean, I drew the design myself, and then hired someone on Fiverr, paid him like $250, $300 to do like a 3D animated version. I don't know if you've seen at the end of the videos, it has like a bunch of cryptocurrency coins falling behind him. And yeah, he got me that dope little animation. Started using that for every video. And yeah, now I just took a screenshot of that and threw it on the channel, and new logo and everything else.
Nice, dude. That's exciting, man. It's pretty cool. So yeah, I mean, let's get into it a little bit more. You said that you'd kind of missed the boat on Hex and whatnot. Can you maybe just like tell us how long you've like been in crypto, maybe when you got in, if you want, and then how and when did you hear about Hex? Like I mentioned, there's as we were talking in the green room, there's a prominent OG that you're pretty good friends with. So maybe we can get into that if you feel comfortable sharing.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. So yeah, Crypto Coffee, if anyone's familiar with him, I've known that guy for roughly 25 years now. One of my older brother's best friends growing up. And yeah, he got into cryptos a lot earlier than I did. I remember back when I was in middle school, him and my brother came out to me like, hey, we should all invest in like a Bitcoin mining machine. I'm like, what the heck is that? Like, no, like, I'm not going to try scraping up $300 as a middle schooler to get one of these GPU mining machines. But, this opportunity, he had the better pulse on the crypto sphere, like, throughout the years, and started telling us about this new opportunity, Hex. When Hex was coming around, it was my first time that, like, completely cleared out my debt from college and all outstanding bills. Had like about $6,000 saved up, so I was going to put $1,000 in to Hex and then the other 5,000 to Bitcoin. So I believe it was about March of last year, like right around the time the halvening was happening. So all my research was built off of Bitcoin and the halvening, watching those historic charts, and my confidence was that Bitcoin was a lot more secure. Seeing all those allegations about Richard Hart being a scammer, spamming master, all that at the beginning gave me a little doubt. And with not a lot of money to put in, I kind of went with what I thought was a safer bet. Now, when I also say I missed the boat on Hex, I didn't miss the boat. I missed the big boat getting in on the ground floor. But yeah, and eventually, prior to Pulsechain was the first time I moved some money into Hex. We were in a little bit of a bear market with Bitcoin and Ethereum. Portfolio shot down like about 60%. And we were at an all-time high for Hex at 9 cents. But I knew that was the best way to do the sacrifice stage. So I moved some money in. Boom, next day shot up to 12 cents. Cool. Put another substantial chunk in. Next day went up to 17 cents. So made some great profits right off the bat. Got me super excited about it and wanted to learn more and share more about it. And yeah, from there, like financially, my life has never been better. Like completely debt free. If I wanted to pay off my student loans, I could, but I think that'd be shooting myself in the foot, as I think Pulsechain and Hex is going to make a lot more money than the 3% interest I'm getting on those loans. So probably never going to pay those off.
Yeah, no, I mean, you brought up a really good point that we had kind of talked about in the green room, and that was the not only like the FUD, but also the almost like the barrier to entry with Hex. You had mentioned that what was it, like Crypto Coffee had sent you like almost an hour-long video, something like that?
Yes, trying to explain what MetaMask was and the process for launch, how it's like in a big pool that depending on what day however many people are sacrificing on that day, you get like a percentage of that pool depending on how much you put in. A lot of it just went way over my head because I didn't even know what MetaMask was at the time. So instead of trying to set up like 3 or 4 different things, I figured it was easier just like get on an exchange and then start doing my transactions there.
Yeah, no, it's definitely true. I mean, I know we kind of talked about it a little bit, but yeah, that was my first experience ever using MetaMask. I mean, I'd been in crypto since, March of 2017, but had never interfaced with the smart contract with that kind of a system. So I definitely know what you mean when there was a little bit of a barrier to entry, and then as you mentioned too, with the fear, uncertainty, and doubt. I mean, even if you know that, or you think that whatever the Hex product is legitimate, sometimes it's kind of hard to stay strong, at least for some people, when there's so much. There's like 90% FUD, and then 10% of people that are like, okay, this is actually legit. So it's kind of hard sometimes to decipher the truth. You don't know if it's legit or if the people are actually correct.
Oh, absolutely. And the longer I've been in the crypto game, the more I'm seeing like a lot of FUD, just advertising. Oh, next 1000x project, next 10,000x, like YouTubers just like promoting all these projects that no, I don't fully understand. Maybe they do have some potential there, but it seems like they're really just going for the views and content and making money off their YouTube channel. Just really a bunch of clickbait. So it definitely shifts the actual truth behind cryptos around and gives it a bad rep in some areas, because a lot of people do get burned out and lose a lot of money, which is unfortunate. I hate to see it, but it's inevitable. It happens.
Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, I was actually earlier this morning listening to a stream that Richard had done with Peter McCormick, and I believe it was either 2 or 3 days. I think it was December 5th, 3 days after Hex had actually launched. But the point is yeah, it was so early at that point, and there was so much fear, uncertainty, and doubt going on that it was just a really unique experience. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen a crypto product be so heavily criticized. And I think, as you mentioned, a lot of the people that are in the current paradigm, the like quote unquote influencers, they do make money off of the viewers, whether it's selling a trading course or the margin trading, things like that. And so if you have something that's completely immutable, then it doesn't really benefit them to talk about it.
No, not at all.
Well, cool, man. Yeah, let's get into it a little bit more. So that's really cool to hear that you got into Hex. And as far as Pulsechain goes, did you when did you hear about that, and did you get into the sacrifice possibly?
Pulsechain, heard about it from Crypto Coffee yet again.
Nice.
So I'm very thankful he showed me about this opportunity as well, from the same creator. Now that he had the track record, gave me a lot more faith in the project. I was like, okay. And I just made a ton of money off of Hex within like 2-3 days.
Nice.
That I was like, all right, all the profits I just made, I'm going to put in. So got a pretty substantial chunk. It was about like 35-40% of my portfolio at the time. And yeah, couldn't be more excited. Looking back, now I kind of wish I put a little more in, but keeping the rest of my money in Hex as well, like, I don't know, got in at 9 cents. It's at like 40 now. No complaints there, or 37 at the moment. But yeah, couldn't ask for much better.
That's cool. I mean, I definitely know what you mean, where you, at least with Hex and whatnot, you don't know if it was legit at the very beginning. You see that it kind of has some of these gains, and then it's like, okay, if Richard ever does do a second cryptocurrency, like, I'm definitely going to get into this one. So it's really cool to see a lot of the people that maybe didn't get in on the ground floor of Hex that are not wanting to make that same mistake twice, right? They want to take advantage of the opportunity. And I think it's a lot better of a sales pitch for people to understand as far as like a faster, cheaper proof of stake version of Ethereum than say the Hex, which is kind of like the time deposit.
Yeah, having a certificate of deposit is a pretty common term, at least like in banks and investing. When I don't know, I feel like he kind of gave it pretty good coverage, and like the certificate of deposits in the banks in the world has a value of about $7 trillion. So I feel like if that point was kind of pushed a little more too, it shows like the bigger potential there. Starting in the crypto space, as it's becoming more adopted, as people are understanding it, as it's becoming easier to onboard and get new people in, I think that would have been a great point that would have driven a lot more into early adoption for Hex. But nonetheless, it's doing pretty phenomenal without it. I was just kind of surprised.
True.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. Oh, okay, yeah, I'll get into it. So, yeah, I was just gonna say that it's pretty cool to see that, you know, Hex had a lot of gatekeeping, like the first day of Hex, Tone Bays and like either 2 or 3 other lawyers had invited Richard on and pretty much tried to not defame him, but they tried to like entrap him and get him to, you know, say it was a security and things like this. And anyways, with Pulsechain, we don't see that at all. And there's like you know, a lack of gatekeeping, and I think it's pretty cool, and I think it'll like, you know, kind of you know, propel the price of, say, Pulsechain and the network effect of Hex as well with those two.
Yeah. Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt, his track record's looking great now. Built a lot of confidence out there. Seeing actual friends and like family make substantial amount of money from Hex. Like, men lie, women lie, numbers don't lie. Like when you see them start buying their like $1 million homes or $100,000 cars, like it gets pretty real pretty quick.
Yeah, it's very true. I mean, one thing that Richard had kind of like popularized was people that say that they're in it for the tech. A lot of times that's just a phrase that people use, but it's really the insane price gains that people are in it for. And when I had heard that, it you know, sometimes as you mentioned, kind of like the truth can kind of be off-putting sometimes because you think that the other paradigm was correct. But it's really cool to see that, you know, Bitcoin did a 6.5 million X, and that was with even its technical difficulties and things like that it's had in the past. So, yeah,
kind of digging into like some of those, I guess, kind of doubts and concerns, but into like the Pulsechain project. If you're down to jump into one of the first points here, that $14 billion sacrifice.
Yep.
Like, I have a hard time still like comprehending that. Like, in Richard, I trust. I know it's going to do amazing, and I know it's part of his game theory to help leverage the price, limit the circulating supply, and kind of like really push the idea that coin market cap is, well, the market cap on cryptos doesn't really mean much. Because when like Pulse hits $1, which I am sure it will, I did the quick math on that, and I'm pretty sure he'll have about $90 trillion in value. So I don't know if his goal here is be the richest man or what, but at the same time, he always preaches how cryptocurrencies should be decentralized. But having a $14 billion stake in Pulse gives him 90% of the coins and kind of makes that centralized. Like at any given time, he could fulfill all 33 validator spots. Now, on the contrary, I know he said he won't, and he's been pretty good for his word so far. But also in a deflationary system where he has 90%, the other 10% is, being traded on, validating transactions. 25% of each fee is getting burned. So if it's deflating, that 90% cushion is going to keep growing, wouldn't it? So it seems like it'll become a little more centralized over time. And I just kind of have a hard time wrapping my head around why he would do that. Now, whether he decides to freeze the coins or burn them at some point, that'd be awesome. That'd be amazing. But yeah, just having a hard time wrapping my head around that. I don't know if you have some better insights you could share.
Well, yeah. So it's quite interesting because, you know, I had that, you know, kind of line of thinking too with Hex, and like there was this big payday that on November 19, 2020 was kind of like a incentivization to stake for at least that day, and if not longer, because you would get an extra bonus. And pretty much what I'm trying to get at is, one thing that Richard has talked about is like the actual like network and the, you know, consensus. If that's decentralized, then that's obviously what you want for that censorship resistance. But as far as the actual, you know, price dynamics and kind of the economy of the system, we've seen that like financial centralization has not only worked with, say, Hex, but even like in the real world, right? Like with say, stocks like Amazon. Jeff Bezos owns a lot of the actual shares of Amazon, or
exactly.
Musk and things like that. And so it was kind of like something that I had to change my paradigm on, because same thing, you wonder like, okay, why does this have such a large amount of this centralization and things like that? But the thing that I began to realize was that it's actually the whales that kind of keep the price up. And if they don't need to sell, then technically they're not the ones that are kind of like making the price go down and things like that. And so it's pretty interesting to see. I mean, someone like Richard, as you mentioned, you don't know kind of exactly like what the motives are. Is it that he wants to be the richest man in the world or things like that? And I know he's talked about it in the past of like, he retired at 24 and had like 150 person company, and it was very successful. Then got into to Bitcoin early, but then after all of the finances were good, he didn't have to worry about that. Now he was like, let me build a legacy, let me kind of help give back to others. So that part I think was really cool and really interesting, because for people that don't know, he's actually like a self-help author, and he wrote Sci-Vive, probably like 8 or 10 years ago. But you can kind of see that his plan was to, fix the money and then kind of fix the world. And so he educates people through the live streams, and some of that education kind of breaks those old ways of thinking or those old paradigms that I had as well regarding the financial centralization and things like this. And the last point that I'll make real quick is Satoshi, the founder of Bitcoin, actually had or has 1 million Bitcoin, and a lot of people don't even realize that. But there's always kind of like a possibility that like, what if this happens? But then a lot of people don't consider the opposite, which is like, so if a rug pull doesn't happen, then Richard's kind of talked about like, well, what if the opposite, which is price go up, and kind of the magic carpet ride analogy.
Yeah. Oh yeah. In regards to, which point was that? Oh wow, lost my train of thought there for a sec.
It's all good, man.
No, absolutely very good points. I think him having like this 90% like share of Pulse as well, or the origin address. We'll keep it to technical terms. It does prevent like other whales from joining the market. Those that see a huge potential here, cool, 100x, 1000x. For any like big investment firm, like I forgot what, like typically like 10 to 20% a year is like pretty phenomenal for them. They are happy with that, like just in the stock game, everything like that. So if they see potential for 2, 5, 10x, let alone the opportunities of Pulsechain, given Hex's history, then yeah, they might put like $100,000 $1 million in, become an absolute whale in there, holding, I don't know, good portion of that money, and then just tank it once it goes up, and they'll make more money than they ever could have dreamt of. But yeah, I do see him holding 90%, like Jeff Bezos, like Elon Musk, like Satoshi, kind of leveraging against that and mitigating that risk. So yeah, I do understand the move, like positive sides. But at the end of the day, it does come back to a trust factor that the origin address won't do that, won't become all the validators and centralize it. And that's one big thing I've seen repeatedly throughout Richard Hard's videos. Like, crypto shouldn't be a trust game whatsoever, like decentralized, peer-to-peer. So I think it's a little contradicting there just by his own logic. But nonetheless, I have faith in it. I know it's going to go well. Like, he built something amazing, and it's going to launch soon. So I can't wait.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's actually a very good point that you bring up, because as far as that goes, there's always a risk, and there's always those two sides of the spectrum that I mentioned. Like, what if it rug pulls, or what if it does the opposite, kind of like that magic carpet ride? And like, that's where we see that the early investors truly have those outsized gains and returns on investment because of the being in early. And a lot of people, as you mentioned, like you would hear kind of a narrative, but you don't know from history if that's actually going to play out or if the opposite's going to play out. And so all we can really, as you mentioned, there's a little bit of trust that goes into it, but all we can really do is kind of look into what, Hex has done. And as far as that goes, and see that, okay, everything that he's kind of talked about has kind of aligned with those incentives. And anyways, it's pretty exciting to see that someone that's actually like having a vision for what he wants for the future is coming into fruition, as opposed to, kind of like a bait and switch where, you're being like promised everything and then you get like no result.
Yeah. I mean, exactly. Him being like a millionaire, billionaire, whatever he really is, like, he has no real need or demand for the money either. Like, the only thing that's going to benefit him in like the rat race to be the number one wealthiest man in the world is going to be to hold. So he really has no reason to dump on everyone. Because what's the difference between $10 billion and $30 billion?
Right.
$40 billion. Like, you're still going to have everything you want in the world and more money for like the next like 8 generations than what you could possibly do. So
and like as someone like myself that's followed him for such a while, like the first thing that people see is like, this guy's got a big ego and this guy talks a big talk. And so the thing is I think it would almost be more of a detriment for what he talks about wanting, which is that kind of leading by example and the actual legacy. I think it would be more of a detriment if he did what everyone suspected, which is the rug pull, right? Because it would completely tarnish his reputation. And so it's definitely an interesting point that you mentioned. And like I was saying too, like part of that is also the opportunity cost. I mean, some people, they see those factors or those possibilities and they just don't get in until a lot later. So the people that are in now that are kind of speculating from what we've seen in the past and all of his streams generally, have like those outsized returns. But the other point is like how long, just because you got Bitcoin at a penny or $1 or $30 like Richard did, how long are you actually holding it for is the real question.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. No,
what was your next point? I know you had a few kind of topics that we can kind of go over and chit chat in between.
Yeah. Next point. Let's see. Oh yeah, just in regard to the sacrifice phase, those who sacrifice, you receive Pulse, like Pulse on the Pulsechain network, and not ePulse, right? You won't get any of that.
Right. Exactly. So yeah, everything that you have on Ethereum, similar to actually with Hex. So for people that don't know, I think it was like either December 1st, if you actually held your keys and held the Bitcoin in your possession, then you could get like a free claim within those 351 days. You could get a free claim of your Hex with whatever amount of Bitcoin that you had had. So yeah, as far as the Ethereum and the Pulse chain goes, yeah, whatever you have, if you have, say, 1 Ethereum before the fork, then you'll have like 1 Pulse when the mainnet itself goes live. And a lot of people, sometimes the thing that they might not be considering is every like ERC20, so whether it be Hex or Chainlink or etc., those all get like a 1-to-1 copy. But as far as the Ethereum to Pulse, the Pulse itself has such a larger supply than Ethereum that, it might not be the best value when it comes to maybe getting that 100% copy.
Yeah. Now, quick question about another little gray area. Wrapped Ethereum. If you hold that in your ERC20 wallet, do you get a PW Ethereum? Or how's that one? Yeah,
I know Richard had kind of answered that one before. I don't know how to kind of answer it, confidently and in depth, but I don't believe that those people would get the actual copy because because it was kind of wrapped. That part, like I said, I'm not too sure on. I know he's kind of touched on it very briefly in the past, but yeah, I mean, there's definitely going to be things that are less optimal, and people might think that they're going to get a copy over, but maybe I think this kind of leads into one of your questions as well, but maybe they have their coins not in their possession, right? Maybe they have it on a centralized exchange, things like that. And that really, really doesn't qualify them for the actual airdrop itself. It would go to the exchange holder.
Okay. Yeah. That was one of my questions as well. So is that essentially going to turn every exchange into whales on Pulsechain that can manipulate the market? Or do you think that's going to incentivize them to start listing Pulse tokens so their users can trade on it? But would they still get the transaction fees they'll get theirs from their exchange, but would they have the power to become validators as well?
Yeah, so I mean, I know as far as those validators, the actual Pulsechain, crypto itself is similar to BSC when it comes to, I think they've got like 21 validators, and whoever has the most amount of Pulse out of those 33 validators kind of can have the opportunity to become one if they want to. But yeah, as far as the actual incentive, in my opinion, I think we're going to see similar to how you mentioned with people kind of, quote unquote, missing the boat on Hex, even though it's super early. I think a lot of people saw what happened and saw even the price gains and the success, and they're not going to want to, maybe dump or miss that mistake again. So I think it actually gives those exchanges, like you mentioned, a great opportunity to, have more user adoption and, to kind of grow, as opposed to take advantage of a very like short-term, segment of time.
Yeah, I definitely think the current investors that got in on the initial sacrifice phase, exactly, they have that deeper understanding. They understand, probably because they watch a lot of Richard Hart as well, and he does go into talking about what really gives value to a coin, a project, anything like that. It's going to be the store of value and speculation. So if people see the store of value as a secure thing and they want the price to go up on that, great. Speculation, if they foresee the price is going to go up on that, they're more likely to invest. So the underlying factor is what's going to make the price go up. And that's people buying more than they sell. As simple as that. So with the structure of probably a lot of like diamond hands going into Pulse expecting these crazy returns, I think they're going to get that, just because, like, if the weak hands sell off right away, opens up new opportunities for like everyone else. Everyone that understands Richard Hart, what he's done, what Hex has done, they're going to be holding on, limiting the supply even further, and have some crazy price action within like the first 3 months.
Totally. No, I definitely agree. It's a very good point that you mentioned. It's really cool. I mean, Richard, he's a marketing like guru and genius, right? He knows that was kind of like his success before retiring was marketing and kind of understanding what gets people's attention. And he'd actually mentioned with Hex in the very beginning that, like, how do you get people to not invest in say BitConnect at the time, or like SafeMoon now, like these certain scams. And he mentioned like a few different paths that you can take. One of them was like screaming very loudly against it, like, don't invest in this is a scam. But then what he found is that like the reverse psychology kind of played into effect, where people would look into it and then actually invest in it because he said not to. And especially if they had any like hard feelings against him, why would they want to listen to him? But so the point that I'm getting at is the other thing that he mentioned was you could build a better product where instead of like scamming and trying to steal the money, you could make a better product, and they would just happily give you that value in exchange for obviously the service or the crypto or product that was created.
Yeah, no, exactly.
So
yeah, if that kind of concludes that point there, would like to definitely talk about some price discovery scenarios. And for myself, and I'm sure a lot of other people have had like the same conception of stable coins on the Ethereum mainnet getting copied over the system state to Pulsechain, thinking that's going to be like at a $1 to $1 ratio, essentially like a free way to double their money. Now I know like USDC is backed by Coinbase's like actual US dollars, but I believe DAI is another ERC20, and there's a couple other stable coins as well. Do you have any idea how the price discovery and where that value is going to possibly land?
totally, yeah. So I mean, a little bit from what Richard has talked about, right? So as far as US dollar coin USDC, it's got an admin key, right? And so Hex doesn't have one, so it can't really be manipulated and things like that. But the actual admin key of the USDC, ERC20 itself, they could, once the fork happens, they could render all of the USDC on Pulsechain useless, and they could pretty much make the value. They could like not distribute it to the actual holders, right? They could make that value kind of zero. But one thing that Richard's talked about on the other side was that if it had value, even if it wasn't, say, a 1-to-1 peg of $1, and then they did that, they could actually be like sued for kind of like stealing the user's value and things like that. So, I mean, it's a really good question, right? We've never seen this kind of fork and this kind of copy happen where, as you mentioned, like all of the stable coins are, getting copied over. And one thing that Richard actually talks about, because we know that Tether, sometimes there's some interesting things kind of going on with that, where they minted like a billion Tether and then just deleted it and things like that. But as long as, say if they do kind of let it keep going and they don't, make that value useless, then as long as like nobody does like a run on the bank kind of quote unquote type of deal, then they can actually hold their peg rather easily if everyone's not, cashing out all of that value and extracting that from the system. So that'll be a really interesting thing to see. I mean, I know some people that are holding that for the fork, and that's definitely one thing that isn't guaranteed, right? You do kind of have a guarantee that, say with Hex or like I mentioned, anything else that doesn't have an admin key, that you'll get that copy 1-to-1, but nobody knows with the stable coins what they're actually going to do. So for me, I would think that similar to like the exchanges, right? Like I think it's going to be a good opportunity for their ecosystem and their network to grow. So why would they want to like hinder that or halt that? But you never know until it actually happens.
Yeah, exactly. The price discovery scenarios, like for every coin, I'm very excited to see. I have no idea what's really going to happen. I do have like a little bit of speculation here and there, like on so all the prices on like the Ethereum network. Do you think that's going to affect like the initial trades of the pulse variation of the coins? So say like Chainlink's at like $25. Do you think it's going to fall somewhere closer to that $25 level, or have more opportunity to go from absolute zero value to even like a halfway or a quarter way point?
Yeah, it's a good question. So Richard's mentioned it many times that the actual, when you actually get the forked coins, it's going to be at a value of zero, but it doesn't mean that it has to stay that way. He had also mentioned that even before anyone else can actually trade the coins, and once it's at the $0 value, that there's going to be like a automated like fixer, like liquidity fixer bot type of deal that that actual liquidity itself is going to be copied over from the ETH to the Pulsechain network itself. So I don't know, people are going to kind of have the opportunity to sell immediately and take whatever value they can get. But we might see things like parity happen sooner than people expect. I mean, honestly, I can't really like comment or speculate too much because I haven't really thought about it when it comes to the other cryptos.
Yeah.
But I know that there's a lot of people that once again they saw what happened with Hex, and they could take a a little bit of a profit or immediately dump once they get those copies. But maybe they don't want to do that this time because they might think that the future holds a higher value as opposed to selling early. So this is the part that we've really never seen before in crypto history. That's going to be very interesting to see what people do.
Oh, absolutely. It kind of got me thinking a little further into it when I was trying to really dig around what I think could play out. So if it's more based on like what groups of investors and say like different cryptocurrencies, what projects are being built on the Pulse chain, like to adopt over quicker, it's kind of like a gaming theory to like speculate and understand like what coins are really building on Pulse chain that may have bigger potential in the future on the new network and like find like new values, like even higher than on the Ethereum blockchain, as a lot more people see this initial like boost in price, rush into it, and think that it's going to keep going from there.
Totally. No, I definitely agree. I was trying to scroll up in the comments. By the way, there's like 133 people watching. So shout out to everyone watching. Please go give Crypto Kings a follow and subscribe to him on Twitter. But yeah, no, it's really cool to kind of think what the possibilities are. I mean, as we talked about, this has never happened in history. Some people, they're going to sell early. Some people won't. We've really never seen anything like this. But as far as the actual Ethereum network goes, Pulsechain's not trying to be like a competitor or trying to be like antagonistic to Ethereum. They want to help Ethereum by like reducing their load and their fees. Because what we see is with things like OpenSea and like NFTs, they have like a large amount, a percentage of the actual transactions and the actual fees in Ethereum. So if people can have the same exact copy and all of the code is the same and the network is actually better and faster and stronger, then sometimes like the better product itself ends up gaining more value and people. I mean, people don't want to have $100, $150, whatever the amount is, to onboard into crypto. Like it's pretty crazy how much of the principal can actually get taken away. So I'll be curious to see what people build, and there are some things that are just going to be exclusive to Pulse Chain, and it's going to give people an opportunity that wanted to build on say ETH 2.0, but they're kind of waiting for that to happen. So now they can just build on Pulse.
Yeah. Good point. You mentioned the NFTs getting copied over, like from the ERC, what is it, 720 or 721? Getting copied over to Pulse Chain's network. Doesn't that kind of like limit the scarcity of these NFTs, as it's kind of considered like just digital artwork? If you have a one-on-one like picture or like picture really, video or some, and it gets copied over. Kind of interested to see what happens with the value of all that. Like I know Bored Ape Yacht Club has done like phenomenal numbers, like very cool stuff going on with them. But now if instead of 10,000 supply, they have 20,000. I'm not sure if their actual yacht club is legit or if they do provide like further services or just like that bathroom graphic design thing they have on their website. But I don't know if it's going to devalue a lot of it, if it's going to like saturate the market a little. I don't know, just another very interesting thing like to look out for.
Well, yeah, I mean, once again, it's like a paradigm shattering thing because as Richard kind of talks about with most NFTs, that they're like a JPEG loosely associated with a serial number, and the actual supply itself is artificially created. And anyways, it's gonna change people's conceptions of what a NFT actually is if it can just have that exact copy over, as you mentioned. So we saw, and we still do see, a lot of speculation and just insane prices being paid for NFTs. And I'll really be curious to see what happens with the Pulsechain network itself, because sometimes you have people that are speculating, and things that you might not consider valuable have like a ridiculous evaluation. So
Yeah.
as you mentioned, with that copy now not being, say, a 1 of 1, now there's going to be that same thing on the Pulsechain. It'll be curious to see what the actual reaction is and where the price value does go. So
Yeah, I mean, we're in unprecedented times. I'm excited to see everything. No idea how it's actually going to plan out. So kind of hedging like a game theory on it. It's really tough to do. But yeah, we'll see. We shall see.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's true. I mean, we saw that with, Ethereum itself. They tried to build on Bitcoin, and they kind of got shut down. The Bitcoin core development group, they had kind of, done some things with the code to kind of make sure that they couldn't build on Bitcoin. And so they did their own thing with the smart contracts. And I think that was like 2015 that ETH came out. But now we see that, hey, 6 years later, something like Pulsechain is kind of beating the Ethereum 2.0 narrative to the punch. And so it's, there's a lot of like talk in the space, and then there's a lot of action as well. Like sometimes you hear the talk with no action. And so with Richard kind of having that first mover's advantage, not only in Hex, but with Pulsechain kind of beating 2.0 to launch, I'll be curious to see what kind of majority like participation that has over ETH 2.0 maybe in the future.
I mean, I definitely think it's going to help on with some early adoption, and then kind of like lessen the demand and need of the 2.0, because if Pulsechain takes off a huge amount of the congestion off the network, like immediately, gas fees start shooting down. People don't really see it as necessary. Like I know right now I'm paying anywhere from like $20 to $1,000 per transaction. It's ridiculous. I hate it. So to hop over right away makes sense for me. I've done a lot of swing trades in my day, and probably going to do a lot more on the new network because it's a lot cheaper to do. But yeah, the 2.0 I think could definitely, I think it'll still get some attention, some love. Like people just know Ethereum. It's almost like one of those household names now. And as far as a crypto sphere, everyone knows Bitcoin, everyone knows Ethereum, Dogecoin, stuff like that. So here in Ethereum 2.0 versus Pulsechain, people feel a little more comfortable with what they already know, even though the other product may be a lot better. So yeah, just another aspect. Very interested to see how that plays out.
Yeah, no, it's a good point that you bring up. I mean, they've got a history behind them of success, and same thing, the first mover's advantage and the smart contracts. But also, as you mentioned, no one wants to pay. Sometimes, as you say, like $1,000 for the gas fees. Or I remember in Hex, the actual fees to send, stake, or to end stake were like a penny, 2-3 pennies. And now, I mean, if it's a good day, maybe you're getting it for, I don't know, maybe $20 to $50 on an actual send. And so I've got a lot of people that before I had, retired at my job, things like this, they're like, Brand, I want to get in. I've got, maybe 50 or $200, things like that. And they were kind of inhibited to get in because there's such a cost of actually onboarding and transferring through all those fees. Like the actual fees eat up a lot of that principal. So yeah, it'll be cool to see more adoption happen for especially those a little bit smaller principal people that just want to get into crypto but don't want to have to pay a whole bunch of fees.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely think it's going to reign supreme over Ethereum 2.0. I think with the upcoming bear market for Ethereum and Bitcoin, just based off historic trends, seeing like some of the prices crash too, might get all those new investors like to lose faith in what's going on there and look at this opportunity in Pulsechain as like, yeah, a much better opportunity. If the price starts going up like big time within like the first 3 to 6 months, which I'm expecting it will, I think Bitcoin and Ethereum, just based off historic trends, are going to start tanking a bit, maybe heading towards that 84% correction. And yeah, lose a lot of faith by the new retail investors as well that don't understand the historic trends quite as much. and they just see money flying out of their accounts like every day. So I think it's going to build a lot more faith seeing, hey, this project that does everything that Ethereum does, but better, is the right answer. Like, yeah, why wouldn't I go over here and like start investing in that? So I still think it's very bullish at the end of the day.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, as you talk about with the bear market, most people, not just in crypto, but markets in general, they tend to buy like the top right of the market cycle. And then you see a bear market in a correction. And as you say, I mean, some people like the Bitcoin maxis, they say like, oh, Bitcoin's the only crypto. But like, what are your actual actions once that price does tank 85% or a bear market does happen? Do you actually, keep consistent with what you're saying? So sometimes when you see that decorrelation, like we saw Hex launch in a bear market, Ethereum had topped out, and I remember like the cheapest Ethereum was maybe like $89, things like that. And for the adoption amplifier, it was like 1.8 million Hex, and that was even before self-referring. But you make a good point. I mean, you see one asset going down in theory, and then the other one kind of going up, and it's like, okay, well, I kind of want to be on that one that's going up, not the one that's devaluing every single day and going into a downward market cycle.
Everyone wants to be on the winning team. I think Pulsechain, Hexikins, and Hex in general is a winning team. Richard's our fearless leader here, and I think he's going to take us to the promised land without a doubt.
Totally. No, there's someone that mentioned a comment here. It's cool with StreamYard. You can just bring up all the comments. But so Potato Gang TV says, look at all the new platforms carefully and be sure to understand where you are investing your time and money. If you plan to invest in a platform, study the hell out of it and make an educated choice. And the reason I wanted to bring that up is because a lot of Hexikins, I mean, myself included, pretty much just stayed with Hex. Why would I change something that's already working? But with Pulsechain, I mean, it's an actual blockchain, right? Things can be built on top of it, and there's going to be a lot of things that might not be the best things to invest in. I mean, just because it's on Pulsechain doesn't mean it's worth actually investing in. So we're going to see kind of like we already kind of have, but kind of like a split where people were just in Hex or just in one crypto, and now they're getting into all of these other things that are built on Pulse. So it's a really interesting time and opportunity,
Yeah. Oh no, absolutely. I agree with that comment. Make sure you study the hell out of like whatever you are investing in. Like that doesn't just go for different platforms or like exchanges, anything like that. Like anything you're going to put your money into, you better know what it's doing, like what it can do, like all the basic properties you need to know to make like an educated decision for yourself. Listening to like one or two people on YouTube or Twitter, or just watching a price chart go up, like you see a lot of like pump and dumps happening in cryptocurrencies too. So it's good to be educated. I definitely agree with that comment as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, someone had actually asked here, Romanian Danny says, what do you guys think about Pulse Doge? And for me, I'm kind of more of like a conservative person, but I also do see that when it comes to the investing, but I also see that certain things do kind of pump and have hype, and the meme coins are definitely that kind of way. They're a lot different than say something like Hex, because most of it is kind of not narrative, but most of it is kind of like, like I said, kind of like hype, or it might not be the actual like technicals or the actual product in crypto itself that people are investing in. It's kind of the speculation of it going up. So it'll be interesting to kind of see what gains value, what doesn't. I mean, it's a whole ecosystem itself. So it's not just going to be Hex on that Pulsechain. I mean, there's going to be like at least 10,000 other ones, so including scams and rug pulls and things like that. So just something for people to kind of be at least wary and be cautious of. Like someone else had kind of mentioned, like maybe before investing in something, do your own research and see if it's something that you think actually has product market fit and and actual utility, because a lot of things can be just narrative. And then say just like with Cardano, right? They've been around for about 5 years, and they're just now getting the smart contracts. So just something to consider for people that are, going to speculate in these other cryptos. Just have some asset allocation.
Oh, without doubt. Yeah, Pulse Doge, I actually did a little swing trading on there. Made a pretty substantial amount just off like 0.0002 cents of 0.0007 or wherever it was. So not something I necessarily would recommend to anyone. But then again, there's Dogecoin that has like no real technical value, Shiba. And those prices have gone up, like just built off the narratives around it. Those endorsing it, getting a lot of adoption. A lot of people lost a lot of money on it too, so they're scared to sell. They don't want to take the loss. It does like drive the price theory up that it could go higher in the future, even though it's just a meme coin. So
yeah. Well, and like the actual like price appreciation in Pulse is going to be a lot different than Hex. I mean, even if you don't agree with something on Pulse or with whatever they're doing, right? It's still the actual usage of the network that's going to benefit the actual price appreciation, right? Because they're all, just like with Ethereum, you need ETH for the gas fees. They're all going to need Pulse for the gas fees too. So even if you don't agree with it, you can still, someone saying, why are we talking about crap coins? Well, it's exactly the point that I'm making. So, Hex was just Hex. A lot of people, just invested in that. But with Pulsechain, even though you're going to get a copy of Hex on Pulsechain, there's also going to be all of these other cryptocurrencies that you don't have to discourage or encourage, but you have to realize that the actual appreciation is going to be different than say with Hex. So just my opinion.
Yeah, well said. Well said.
What other questions did you have? I know we kind of had some points there, and maybe we can get into to some of the chat and kind of just go with the flow. But I kind of like where it's going so far.
Yeah, definitely address like a lot of my bigger questions, some of the concerns about like what's going on with Pulsechain. Not so much concerns, just like looking for more insights, more information. I know you just have like a whole, you know it better than I do. So I'm just trying to understand a little more as well. As far as like the main points, I think we've addressed them all. There's like the CFD token. I'm not sure if I'm familiar with that whatsoever. I just heard about it the other day, and that was one of Richard Hart's like first cryptos, it seems like, that actually failed. But I don't know if you had a little more insight on what happened there. To me, it seemed like it had people's time.
Sorry.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's exactly right. I mean, the idea is absolutely amazing, but what Richard had realized is that, it was just too hard to, bring into fruition. And, it was like CFD was like computation, fluid dynamics. It was like a useful proof of work type of deal. I don't know a whole bunch about it because he did kind of pivot rather quickly after realizing it was too complex. But yeah, he wanted to, same thing with like the proof of work that we have now. He wanted to, see a problem that was in the current ecosystem and space and develop a solution that could benefit other people. But he had definitely pivoted into, blockchain, CD, time deposit once that just became too complex. So I actually think that that's really cool, and that Richard's constantly updating his worldview, because he kind of knows when he should pivot. And any good founder should kind of have that skill, because you might end up chasing a rabbit hole or chasing something that might not be worth your actual time.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, he knows how to prioritize his time and energy and resources efficiently. So yeah, no, well said. I appreciate those insights as well, more than I knew about it.
Well, yeah, I mean, also as far as like the actual like the accumulation of the value. So we talked about like I'm in it for the tech, and that's definitely what CFD was. But that might not actually gain as much value per se as something like Hex, or something that has more of a user participation. And if you have something it's why they say like even if you're like super smart and you have this super extensive like vocabulary of different words, why you maybe shouldn't use that when you're speaking in general layman terms, because people aren't going to understand it. So with something like CFD, it might actually be too complex for people to even invest. So
yeah, understand the derivatives, the computation, like, yeah, great for scientists, like anyone that needs those analytics done fast, quickly, and awesome. But to the daily investor, doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. And yeah, it definitely makes sense why you pivoted away.
Totally. Yeah, no, I see your private message. So yeah, we'll definitely wrap up within 5 minutes or so. Let me just see if there's anything. I didn't realize I still had that comment up. Let me see if there's anything that we can kind of ask and answer. If anyone has any questions for Crypto Kings, do ask them now, because we will be wrapping up soon. So I definitely do appreciate your time. I mean, it's super cool to see how many new faces and how many people are onboarding into Pulse or Hex or making videos, because it just goes to show that, hey, there's more legitimacy to this actual product and to this actual network.
Yeah, man, I appreciate the feedback, and I appreciate you having me on here, like getting asked a lot more tough questions and providing a lot more insights in areas that I don't have the fullest understanding. So I love the community overall. It seems like everyone's here to help everyone win, which is something great to be a part of. So yeah, thank you. Thank you for your time and having me on.
Yeah, no, totally. Yeah, I mean, I guess we can kind of wrap up there. You mentioned Crypto Coffee had kind of, introduced Hex and Pulse. And yeah, I've never seen something where people weren't just in it for themselves and in a selfish way. I mean, obviously you want to be successful and do well yourself, but there's less of there's more of like an abundance mentality and less of a scarcity, trying to take from other people in this community. And, as someone that was in crypto in 2017, sure, I saw like some community. Litecoin was the first crypto I got into, and they had like the Litecoin fam type of deal. Oh, nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is just much different. It's genuine, it's honest, and actually today I've got like three hexagons that I'll be meeting up with it, in a few hours that I wouldn't have met if I didn't get into the community and engage. So,
oh, very cool.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I totally forgot there for a second. Like after graduating college, grandma gave me a good chunk of money. I was stoked. I knew cryptos were, I think it was like 2017, the last like bull market, looking great. Everything's up. And I think I bought Litecoin at like 320 a pop.
Yep.
And yeah, just forgot about the account. I was like, nope, cryptos are dumb. Lost all that money. Just kind of forgot about it until like, I think like 6 months ago, I found that wallet and took that out, put that in Hex as well.
Yeah, no, me too. I mean, yeah, you might think that you just made a killing and had a wonderful gain, but then it's not actually a gain or a loss until you actually realize it, right? A lot of it's just paper, and then you do see that bear market or things like that. So
yeah, exactly.
That can definitely change that person's perception. But anyways, yeah, we're gonna wrap up here. Let me just share your YouTube channel once again.
Awesome.
It's Crypto Kings. So for everyone that didn't hear earlier, his Twitter account is on the description, and same thing with the YouTube channel here. So I mean, he's at 506 subscribers. Definitely give him a subscribe and follow. And yeah, I mean, we all gotta support each other, right? As I mentioned, there's a whole bunch of people coming on board, making videos, and the rising tide does really lift all ships. So we should support the people that are providing value and, share that kind of wealth as well.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Well, again, man, thank you for having me on. I don't think I've seen any last comments come through with any questions.
Exactly. Well, cool, man. Yeah, we'll end it here. Thanks for coming on as well. I know it was the first stream, so I'm gonna play the outro now and catch up with you next time.
Sounds good.
Thanks, guys.
Be sure to hit that subscribe button. Be sure to like. Be sure to share. Be sure to comment. Yeah. Say hey. jackpot. We still jackpot, bitch!
Thank you, Richard, for creating and founding the most amazing and disruptive financial technology cryptocurrency ever. Thank you, sir. And nice streams, Mr. Balliet.